here, and
Did you get that signed? Yeah. Oh, okay. Thank you.
so Mary's in Moab, and Bob needs to stay close to home, and who am I forgetting?
Jill.
Jill. Oh, Jill. And Jill got pulled off of, she was going to be able to be on the phone, but she got pulled off on another job, so she's not available this morning. So it's good to see all of you. Welcome. You got that too, Rich. Okay.
Yeah.
And
Larry, I don't know if Joe has met Kate. Have you met Kate?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
Lindsay and King. Yeah. I was playing.
So are you back?
Yeah, I'm just
you're visiting.
Yeah, I'm not a visitor. I have no official position.
I'm proud of it.
Good day for it. We need more people. So.
Yeah, Joe, welcome, Joe. It's good to have you back.
Yeah,
Joe,
great.
For quite a while, you expressed some interest in attending meetings and so forth. So here he is. Good to see. Okay, we are convened, and we do have a quorum, it looks like. And so, Madam Secretary, I like your program on TV, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
Madam Secretary, to give us the minutes, please. We'll see the...
You're going to fire a shot across your bow.
Could happen.
This, Superior Historical Commission meeting minutes, September 21. The meeting was called to order by Chairperson Larry Dorsey. In attendance were commission members Mary Cartwright, Larry Dorsey, Lindsay Llewellyn, Bob Morgan, Jill Roberts, Errol Waligorski, and Karen Waligorski. Staff Brian Meyer and Karen Stortland, and others Maureen Hogue, Mike Hogue, and Daryl McCool. Before the meeting began, Rita Dozell stopped by to say goodbye to everyone as she and her family are moving to Arizona. Everyone expressed thanks and appreciation to her for her great support as our town liaison. The minutes of the August 17th meeting were read. Mary Cartwright moved they be approved as amended. Errol Waligorski seconded the motion, and the motion carried. The treasurer's reports were given as follows. Bob Morgan reported that the fire truck account currently has a balance of $534.50. Brian Meyer reported that there is $4,322.99 remaining in the 2018 historic preservation account. Old business. Debriefings were discussed as follows. There was a good turnout at the museum opening on September 1. The fire truck was out front attracting some visitors. Dan and Kuffner came over a couple times. Larry Dorsey attended the Boulder Heritage Roundtable meeting on September 20th. At the meeting, he learned the name of the person from Rocky Mountain Fuel that opposed the landmarking of the industrial mine a few years ago because of the mineral rights. No one attended the August 20th ANFRAM meeting in Commerce City. The birthday party for Avery Hopper held at Asti Park and the museum on August 29th went very well, with the little girls wearing period dresses to the party. Fortunately, it was determined that the gross and potentially dangerous email Larry received the day prior to the party was sent by an unknown person, and no one from Avery's family was responsible for it. Our fire truck was driven by Rocky Mountain Fire Department in the Louisville Labor Day Parade on September 3rd. Larry followed them over to Louisville from Superior and commented that he heard some grinding of the gears as they had no instruction on how to drive the truck. Mayor Folsom, his family, and a couple commission members rode in the truck during the parade. The El Dorado K-8 second grade field trip on September 14th went very well. The students, as well as teachers and parents present, were all very interested in what they heard and saw. Several members attended Denzel Ackland's memorial service on September 15th. His daughter, Cheryl Valentiner, thanked the commission for our help with the service. Special thanks to Mary Cartwright for helping her find a location for the lunch reception afterward. Denzel will be greatly missed by all of us. The cataloging, filing, and donation screening committee did not meet this past month. Jill reported on plans for the oral history video QR project. She will be meeting with Dave Dugdale to discuss some methods to be used to proceed. Karen Waligorski reported that 2 sympathy cards have been sent to Betty Ackland and family and also to Cheryl Valentiner from the commission. Thank you notes need to be sent to some people who have donated money and artifacts to us. Karen Snortland reported on the cemetery working group field trip on August 23rd. She is incorporating suggestions from this field trip with those put together by Larry after the previous field trip. She has a meeting scheduled with the Cemetery Planning Resource Alliance, CPRA, firm to develop a proposal for design. Commission members suggested that it would be useful to include people with family members in the cemetery on future planning. A listing of who is buried there is on the Town of Superior website. There was no report on the historic photos planning for the sports stable. Brian will work on getting potential dates for the photo shoot with the Lafayette Fire Department. The schedule for the upcoming second grade field trips is as follows. Superior Elementary, September 28th with 90 students, and Monarch K through 8, October 5th with 70 students. Brian will make sure the various locations are sprayed for wasps. Mayor Folsom has offered to take commission members and volunteers to lunch on October 5th after the field trip. Brian reported that the staff is still meeting with the Kuffner family on plans for a memorial to George Kuffner. Lindsay Plewelling led a discussion on the long-term planning priorities from her list, including Grasso Park, the mine site, historic residential buildings, and historic non-residential buildings. She will update it based on the discussion. Brian and Larry met with Pedro on work needed for the museum front porch, the barn floor, the barn porch, and the broken window. They noted also that extermination is needed for mouse droppings, etc. in the barn. These are items in the 2018 budget. Daryl McCool talked about a proposal for reprinting of the Lost Superior book. She will put together some samples for the group to view. New business, staffing for the October 6th museum opening was discussed. There will be a Boulder Heritage Roundtable meeting on October 18th at the Boulder Public Library. The next ANFRAM meeting will be the Castle Rock Historical Society on October 15th. Flyers still forthcoming. The commission discussed uses for future donations which have been directed to the fire truck account. It was proposed that future donations be directed to a new account called the historic account. The group discussed procedures for potential future museum birthday parties. It was determined that we could just add to what is currently online for Asti Park rental, including a special museum tour or event. There would be no charge, however, a donation could be suggested. Bob Morgan brought in a copy of the Colorado Heritage Magazine, summer 2018, from History Colorado. He pointed out an article on baseball teams from mining sites. We will put the magazine on display in the museum. Bob moved that the meeting be adjourned at 11:50 and Wally seconded the motion. Next meeting will be October 19th.
Okay, any additions or corrections?
Brian, yeah, what's the name of that account? I had historic account.
Yeah, the finance department changed it to historic donations.
Historic donations account,
That'll
okay.
accurately reflect.
So I probably need to fix that here.
Yeah, so they did that since the last meeting, so.
Yeah, I missed the donation word.
Yeah, that's right.
But it's right on the current agenda.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Oops. Yep. Yeah, but that's because Brian got that in there. I didn't have it there to begin with.
Is that going to explain why there's a big difference between the balance Bob gave me for that count of what she read 500 and something, and Bob gave me 700 and something. $200 difference.
Yeah, the current balance I have, what I'm going to report on here shortly is $770.50.
Yeah, that's what he told me. Oh, he told me 766. Actually.
Yeah. and
People
there's a
donating
small-
for-
Yeah.
Oh, maybe Denzel's donations pretty good size.
Yes,
Oh,
they
okay.
were not reflected in this.
Yeah.
But $200 though, that's not bad.
Yeah.
And
Thank you,
then
Lindsay.
the birthday party one.
Yeah, that's right. Now we got $50 on it. Okay. Okay, go ahead.
Were there other changes to
Any
this?
other changes? A motion to accept the minutes as amended?
All motion.
Yay. Second?
Second.
Katie second.
Hard
Lindsay
having to
moved.
do all this work.
Katie
without
second, yeah.
people. We don't know how to do this stuff.
Yeah, I think we've got an approval on that, so we'll just move on. Thank you, Karen, as always, for the minutes. And so when I talked to Bob this morning, he gave me 766.50 because another few bucks came off that last open day. Is that what you have?
Yeah. Yeah, let's go with what you have.
Okay.
I think that's, yeah.
Well, thanks. 766.5.
Okay.
Now so just so we're clear, that account, moving forward, so it'll be called Historic Donations Account. It's essentially a revenue account that can collect any of the memorial donations or whatnot. Throughout the year, it can be used, let's say the Historic Preservation account's already been brought down to zero. You can use any of the money in the Historic Donations account, but just know that this is where it's different than previous. At the end of the year, that'll, when Finance Department closes the books, that'll go to zero instead of like carrying forward into the following year.
The historic will? Or
The Historic Donations account.
Really?
Yeah, because it's essentially revenue. I mean, if you, we're collecting it as revenue for the town for these donations, so
You
that's how.
use it.
So you should
Yeah,
figure
so
out how
you
to
can
use
use it, yeah, or
But
it'll.
it's a donation for
Yeah.
purpose. So
Yeah.
how can it see, that doesn't sound right.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking, yeah.
Well, yeah, if you have concerns on that, that's fine. It's essentially was explained to me, like it would, when they balance the books, they would kind of put that towards, the money used from the Historic Preservation account, to kind of balance things, but that would be brought to zero. Now, it sounds like you guys want it to carry forward.
Well, especially the donations that are done, let's say, for in recognition of Denzel or something. like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, because I think people donate with an idea in mind of something they might want the money to use.
Okay, because we haven't used any money in that account for quite a while,
Yeah,
so
that's
that's
true,
my, that's what was brought up, like, they're looking back and it's never gets used, that's
The
what the
Christmas
historic.
party account.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's not a bad idea, actually.
So it's like if you want to use it, during the budget year, so if there's
So
something,
this ends in January? Or no, it's a new
December
account, so,
31st, yeah.
okay, even though it's a new account?
Well, it's a rename,
Switch.
it's a rename,
Okay,
yeah, so.
okay. But an idea
Get
would,
spending, guys.
yeah, an idea would be to actually, it puts a little fire to actually use some of the money, right? Like if it's a donation from Denzel, what are we gonna do? Should we do I know you said you have a framed photo let's actually use this and display something or,
So can we designate that it would come out of any?
Oh, yeah,
finish would
for
come
sure,
out of
yeah,
that
for sure,
account?
yeah. That's, you can use it, yeah, but that's but typically, looking at the past, couple of years, no, it's never been used, just a little bit of money goes here and there and,
because now there's that it was the fire truck.
It was the fire truck, and if you look back, that the fire truck, that came out of a huge
different-
capital improvement,
Yeah.
Budget, so.
Yeah, I think that's why we changed the name, but
Okay,
Just gonna have to stay on top of using
I
this.
guess so. spending is always, it's always fun, but
Well, I mean, yeah. I
the
mean-
deal is though, it's just thinking about having something in reserve for something specific or special for the museum that would reflect
you
the
think something-
donation.
yeah.
Something that's gonna stay there rather than a paint job or something.
Yeah, so we got to rethink our thinking, I guess.
I mean, again, I'm just
Have you
communicating, if you guys feel
No.
strongly about it carrying forward, I mean, because they're just telling me like, well, we look and it never gets spent, you know, so if they want to spend it, they can, it just has to be that budget year, so.
Having your meat and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why it's bothering me, but I want to carry it forward. Just because it's donations,
Yeah.
but
Lindsay?
Yeah, like when you, I guess it just depends on where that money actually
If
goes.
it zeroes out, you don't know where it went.
Right. And then
Yeah.
it'd be nice to, I don't know, like if we are able to increase the donation base like in the future, then it'd be nice to tell people we used donation money for specific projects or something.
I think that would hinder donations.
But it also, if people give money and we don't do anything about it, then
Yeah,
that
that's
also
also
isn't
not
good, right?
Definitely.
Yeah, but then we still have the money, so it's not like it's gone.
Well, if they zero it out, it's gone.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Otherwise, just because we have it in there, we don't necessarily have to use it.
Yeah, because I think we've also looked at it kind of as a rainy day thing too.
Yeah.
So if it was there when it needed something. Well, why don't you give us the other bank,
Yeah.
other account balance, and we'll come back.
Well, yeah, so I won't, I'll chat with our finance department. It's not like I'll let them know in the discussion today. It's not like a
The reason,
definitive thing, but.
give us the other.
Yeah, so the other account is still at $4,322.99, with current projects in the works that I guess we'll discuss a little bit more on number 11 or number 10, but those haven't been paid for yet, so.
Because going back to our previous, we'd also with this, we've gone up to 5,000. We started off with 5,000.
Yeah, mhm.
They've given us or increased our budget to 5,000 now rather than 2,000 we used to get. And we're going to have to work to spend all that too, in addition to the 700.
But we could start spending more money on like marketing stuff, on newsletters, on postcards. I mean,
Brochures.
postcards cost a lot, but if that's money that we have, we just need to be diligent and intentional about it, and it should be,
Yeah, because
Should
there's
be
lots of
used.
things we've talked about doing.
and display cases, right? I mean, that type of stuff. If we need to use it, then it'll help me to go out and do it, right? I know I've talked about some display cases, but if we know that money will be gone, then we need to do it.
Well, my experience in the government, when money is use it or lose it, it gets used but tends to be wasted.
Yeah, I think that's our other deal. We don't want to just blow it, just spend it, be spending it, but also it's
Not
there.
that your ideas would.
Yeah, no, I
No, you're right on, Katie, with that.
Well, I mean, I think it's hard. It's October, right? So I think that's kind of the hard thing, that like, if this really is the new way, then we need to not waste it, but use it wisely in the next few months. And then starting January, we really need to be aware that the money that's coming in, we need to be using. We have a year to use it,
But then it's like if we get donations like at the Count the Lights event or something
Yeah,
like
you
that,
gotta
like
get 'em there.
how do you plan for that?
Don't
Before
tell
the end of the
until
year.
January.
That's a good point, yeah, 'cause that's December.
I just feel like if you're donating something, isn't it supposed to go for the purpose that you donate it for?
That's usually the case. You think it's a conditional donation, you give it,
So if you can ask, especially the later in the year donations, right? Like, I think we probably could be more active using some of this money, but the later in the year stuff and some of these things, if we're like making something, plaques, or it is hard to say, we gotta get this done when we have an intention to do it. So that, maybe that would be a question.
Yeah,
Do we,
You know,
what
we-
about on December 1st when we get, it's not like we're gonna get
Tell them
lots of money.
everybody
then.
thinks it's a bad idea.
I can do that.
Well, we've tried to, you know, put out little flags, little reminders throughout the year with our year-long plan and everything, but, you know, I think all of us as volunteers pretty soon realize, oh, it's September and we still haven't done this or that or the other thing. And, because we talked for a long time about putting the signs down by the farm equipment, and it's, you know, we always talk about it.
That's what I'm kind of hoping with the planning list. I mean, if we finish it today, then I can put it together so it's like different, like we'll get this done now and then the priorities, so we can just like go down the line and kind of, then we'll know what we want to spend money on instead of just things randomly coming up, I
Good
guess.
idea.
Yeah, and everyone knows, I mean, the preservation account's always been a use it or lose it.
Yeah,
Yeah, so,
Right.
okay.
but we haven't had $5,000 before either.
Well, I think last year there was,
Was it
but
last
yeah.
year?
But yeah, it's been kind of fairly recent.
Yeah, because
Every
one time it was only
company.
1,000, so it's,
Yeah.
It's such a big problem for us to have time. We have to spend all this money.
Yeah,
It's really awful.
do we have to? You know,
It's very stressful to have to spend money.
you mentioned those framings, and all of a sudden I think of all the things that we've talked about doing, we could try to get done.
Yeah.
And, you know, Mary's mentioned that shelf above, an additional shelf above the stove to put more of the spices and other artifacts on that shelf. So, you know, we got some possibilities for sure. Okay, thanks. Yeah, convey that, would you please, Brian, and we'll cause us to think about other ways to approach this. Museum opening on October 6th. We didn't have very many people there, but two were Cheryl Valentiner and her husband. They were there. They came and visited, or they sat around quite a while and just shot the breeze. And Bob Morgan was able to be there, so that helped. I think. Was he there? At any rate, we had picked up a few bucks in the donation jar and everything. Thanks to my wife's relatives, I didn't make the round table yesterday. They were supposed to leave about 9 o'clock in the morning, and they left at, I think it was, 11:30 when the meeting was supposed to start. They were still in the car backing out of the driveway, so didn't get there yesterday. But it does remind me, I have written down, I'll just do it now, that one of the things that came up last time, I got an email reminder is that the Historic Boulder doing the Meet the Spirits this weekend on Sunday, actually, at the Columbia Cemetery. And you can get tickets ahead of time if anybody wants to attend that. You know, how they have local Boulderites dress up as people who are buried in the cemetery. And so that's always a good function. Didn't get to Anfram, and I got back from Chicago and forgot about that. So Cartwrights, I think, are already gone. I passed out some reactions. I sent out an email to the 3 schools, and I sent out a thank you to Mayor Folsom, and those are the 4 replies there. So it looks like I had the positive one on the one of the no complaints on the bottom, but the other 3 all mentioned our chronic problem with timing, and so I guess we just think about that since we have another 10 to 11 months to think about this, but whether or not we ought to set a timer or something like that.
But I think I think if each group, like, if we printed little, like, they all get off the bus at the museum.
Yeah.
And we could just print little sheets for each of the groups, as they separate. And then they always have great volunteers, so just one of the volunteers could be kind of the person that, and I think the walking time is big because we don't, so just kind of adding that
Takes at
in.
least 5
Kids
minutes
take
to walk
way
over.
longer to walk than you would think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And some
And rounding up
stations-
time and stuff.
Rounding up time, yeah.
Some of the stations just have more interest than others in,
Yeah, I think sometimes the kids get some questions going too, and that kind of extends it, and especially I think in here. But I was surprised, there was that one time that we had a long wait before the next group came. I don't know if that's the one that Clint's referring to or not, because obviously too, we lose track of which group did which, but,
Well, and there was a group that came out of here, went around. We were waiting.
yeah, that's right, yeah. So it's always an issue. Then Katie, back to your suggestion, which is great, but then, if they're supposed to arrive at 9:30, but if they get there at 9:45, and then,
Yeah.
I don't think that happened this year, by the way. I think the buses were right on time, so,
Yeah, they were.
but there's always, takes a while to get rounded up at Asti.
Yeah, or really, I guess it's for us, like, we were looking on our email, I didn't print that, but when, like, the first one, Mary and I were like, what time do they have to, so we even need it, right? We can
Right.
be in charge of it, we need it, the mayor we need it.
Yeah.
So that we can say, it's time, you need to walk, maybe they
Yeah.
want it, right?
Exactly. Yeah, because in the park and the museum, at one point, there was another group coming in and we were only halfway through our sessions there.
Yeah,
And it was not a big problem. They just sat down by the picnic tables
right.
Yeah.
and waited, but, makes you nervous because you got all these kids showing up.
And if it's not as nice of a day, then it'd be
Yeah.
more of a problem, I guess.
I think you and I were sort of doing that on our end. It's like, okay, it's time to move on. The next group's coming in. Everybody out.
Yeah.
I think we kept ours pretty.
Yeah, we kept pretty much on them.
time, so we're okay.
Yeah. Well, I always knew you were.
Well, thanks, Walt.
Anyway, it's definitely worth putting together a little schedule next time.
You know about our special relationship here. Okay, well, take all that for what it's worth, and we'll put that in the hopper for next year. And they, obviously, they really appreciate it and they get a lot out of it, so.
Yeah. I wonder if they would ever be willing to have anyone come into their class ahead of time too. I think I brought that up before, to just learn even more about Superior.
they've done a little of that in the past. I think either the mayor or Chris Hansen has
Kind of come in and talk to
at
them.
least visited one or two of the schools.
Yeah.
Oh, and then
And, as part of the teaching block they're doing,
Mhm.
and I think at that particular
Yeah.
time too, is local government.
I think at one time Bob and Denzel was doing something at the school.
But that's a good idea,
It
just
would
to,
just be neat, and then when they come, we don't have to go over the entire history of Superior, which, we really just kind of like go as fast as we can through everything, but that would be such a neat service that we could offer.
But they do that somewhat with the coloring books,
Yeah, they get that ahead
They
of
get
time.
that history
Yeah,
that way.
I think the teachers do quite a bit.
Yeah, we should find out maybe more about what they do, and see how we can supplement that.
One other thing, Bob and I are putting together just a summary of what we talk about in the
Yeah.
park. So
That's a good
we
idea.
can switch around and we don't always have to have all the same people in the same place.
Yeah.
So that's a good idea, yeah.
It's just notes, and it wouldn't mean that the person had to follow those notes necessarily, but it's just some
that's a
some
very good
notes,
idea.
things that Bob talked about on the schools,
Yeah.
and probably only Bob really knows.
And I
Bob and
remember
Denzel
he
used
was
to do
saying,
it.
he had such interesting stuff about going down into the mine,
Yeah.
that was really neat too, talking about
Yeah.
like the mules or whatever, and the the 260 feet or whatever it is, that would be really neat to have talking points for other people.
Yeah, that's a good idea. We should probably compile.
And for the house too, kind of for everything, right?
Right.
Yeah,
For
yeah.
all
So
locations.
anybody could have a little outline.
Yeah, so you'd have
follow, yeah.
notes to talk from.
Yeah. Good. There wasn't anything done on cataloging since our last meeting. I'm suspecting the same is for Ole. oral history. Correspondence, Karen?
Okay. Let's see. Thank you notes were sent to, I think it was the Winter family on the soapbox, and to Clint Folsom for the picture that he found in the wall of the house that they're remodeling. We still have not sent out thank yous for all of the donations in memory of Denzel. I was waiting to get all those in, and then I'll get with Bob and find out who all sent those, and I'll get those sent all at once.
Okay,
Because we definitely need to thank people for those.
definitely. How many do we get?
I don't know. We had 5 or 6 the last time I talked to Bob, but I think he's gotten some more in.
Oh, they went to Bob?
Yeah, Bob has them all.
Okay.
He's got the list, and, I mean, he's been turning the money into Brian.
Yeah.
But do you know how many he had turned into you?
I mean, I could look, I don't know off the top of my head
It's
though,
not
yeah.
that important, but, yeah.
Maybe next time it'd be interesting to find out who did that, who the individuals were who contributed to
Yeah,
this.
okay, we'll do that. Uh-huh.
Okay.
Any other thank yous that anyone can
I'll
think of?
contact, I found something in my briefcase I forgot about, so I'll
Oh,
let you
okay.
know.
Thanks for thanking Clint.
Yeah. Did you, were you gonna?
I did
Anything
not
else?
send him a thank you for taking us to lunch. Did you cover that, or?
I mentioned that in the thanks, yeah,
Oh, okay.
but it was just, yeah, I didn't do it.
There weren't a lot of us there, actually.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Let's see. It was you and I and Mary
Yeah.
and
Really?
Wally.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, 'cause I had that other, oh, yeah, my son-in-law was here.
Yeah, uh-huh.
Get him on the road.
All these in-laws.
I know. We get our new house, was gonna build a fort around it or something. Leave us alone. Grumpy old people. Wally's the chair of that committee. Cemetery working group, Brian, anything new on that?
Yeah, just, the design group met recently, did a site visit at the cemetery. We should have an initial conceptual plan or drawing within the next probably 2 to 3 weeks, initial. So, and then we'll take that to the working group and.
Who's on that
From
again?
there.
Who's on?
So Karen, Wally, Larry, Mary, Daryl McCool, and Dulcie Brown.
Yeah.
From another?
From another
different-
committee, yeah.
Cool.
From the arts committee,
Yeah.
commission.
From the, yeah.
Dulcie, I can't remember her last name. And then this organization that,
Is,
Yeah, design group that specializes in cemetery. They're really good. They're based out of Littleton.
cool.
And yeah, so they're doing a lot of looking at GIS mapping and that eventual Park 3 that's going to go in next to the cemetery down the road. And so we're kind of
back in Joe's house.
Cool.
So yeah, it'll be.
And are you gonna send that out to us, or we'll just talk about it in the
I think we'll see kind of where we're at by next meeting. I'm not sure yet because we'll probably meet with the working group first and then see where we're at
Are
from
you
there.
going to consider that a preliminary plan or something?
Yeah, preliminary. Yeah, with our
Brainstorming stage?
yeah.
Yeah.
So this will obviously spill into next year.
Mm-hmm. And Joe, there was a nice chunk of, in the budget for this,
Oh,
this past year, so have you met Karen Snortland yet?
I don't think so.
She's on the staff, and so it's kind of falling in her bailiwick, and so this.
What prompted it?
Probably that development, I think, maybe it had to get something done before that next phase starts.
Have you been able to do any tours recently?
No, still, it's not a real easy,
Yeah.
it's not a bad walk, but it's not good for anybody who has trouble walking to get up there, so we haven't done any tours lately, no.
Yeah.
Maybe next Halloween.
Yeah, maybe so.
One of the things we are pushing on, and that's a street up in there wide enough for 2 cars to pass, and probably 6, I don't remember if it was 6 or 8 parking spaces right up there in front of them.
So you don't have to walk.
Well, yeah, and that's, you get, again, with the Disabilities Act, I think that's something we really have to address.
We had that group that Brian mentioned that's been up there last, it must have been April or something like that. We just did a brainstorming, made up as many possibilities as possible, and then some of them already been taken care of, and so that they have that to work from too, so, yeah.
That's good.
Did someone call you about the cemetery?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, because they called our house yesterday morning and said they couldn't get hold of you, they had the wrong number.
Oh.
Well, they were calling 449 instead of 499.
Oh, did you correct that for her?
Yeah, well, I think they had gotten hold of you
Yeah.
a few
Yeah.
weeks or days ago.
I'll bring that up a little
And
later.
then they called
actually.
again yesterday morning saying they couldn't get hold of you. And I said, well, what number do you have? Anyway,
Yeah,
okay.
I'll talk about that a little later.
Oh, okay,
'Cause,
okay.
Yes, I've been in communication with her quite a bit lately.
Oh, okay.
See, this is why you don't answer the phone if you don't know who's calling you.
I know, I can listen to
Especially
the-
this time of
That's
year.
right, absolutely, especially during election season. Yeah, what Karen brought up, I'll bring up a little bit later in the new business, yeah. Photos, Katie.
Sure, so, Brian just updated me that you guys talked about it a little bit at the last meeting, but I still updated these flyers a little bit, but is the thought, I don't have, kind of split them. I just feel, I want to apologize that I totally missed the boat on working on this. It's just been so crazy at work, and I don't like things on the agenda for long, and it's really bothering me. So, but I think, did you guys talk about maybe just waiting till spring anyways, till January?
2019 kickoff.
Okay, sounds good. But, so I will
Good
now
for you.
try and start I can send this out in an email, and we can work on edits. There's some edits we can do, and we have time now, and Brian just said that Heather, we'll just have to kind of have new contacts anyways, that Heather's leaving. Did you share that with everyone?
With Larry, but I imagine most of these guys.
I
know that.
heard that from Heather.
Yeah. So, she was really on board about it. I don't think we're gonna have a problem not having them be on board, but do you guys have feedback on this one, or should I just send it out? This really isn't like my specialty, making flyers. So I know there was lots of feedback in the August meeting, and I just tried to remember that stuff, and at least we have time, but do you guys have any initial?
I like the looks of this.
Yeah, looks
Did you have a list like from Chamber of Commerce or something, send it to
No, not yet.
Target?
No. I think if we're gonna just do like a big kickoff in January or something like that for it, then maybe I'll just send it out to all of you again, and we can edit whatever we need to. I'll get you a copy. And yeah, that's all. But, and then I think next steps for that is that really important, we need to contact Louisville Historic Museum, because some of the photos we want to use, some of the very best ones are theirs.
Permission, yeah.
So even before this gets out very far at all.
Okay.
And then I don't have contact info on the flyer, I noticed.
Oh,
And yeah, but I will just email it out to the group. Is there anything else you guys, questions about it, or
Where's
feedback
that,
right away?
where's that location of those pictures on the lower left?
That's in Denver, just at so I think someone.
That looks like a good example.
Yeah, okay, good, because someone had the idea to just put a Superior photo into a frame, and I could do that as well. Just, Photoshop it in there. But that's kind of how it would look. That's kind of the idea of it. So, yeah, I can do either one. and I have a list from you, Larry, about all the different photos that we have, you know, the ones that you kind of said, these are okay to use, these we need permission for, so.
Did I do that?
We talked on the phone. It was a while ago.
Good for me.
Yeah. So like the Carnegie Library ones, we really probably, that's just, they're just
They're so
hard to
expensive,
work
yeah.
with, and so we would just avoid using any of those photos. And
That's
this is
fine.
like down the road if there's like tons and tons of people that are, tons of groups that want to do it. But there's definitely groups, photos in our collection that we just have to be, they're not really ours. So we just have to be careful to get permission or
Yeah.
not use them at all, so.
I've got something else I need to talk to Carnegie people about, so I'll put out some feelers to
Sure.
see
I mean,
what.
they're gonna charge us for
Yeah.
every time we use it, which is kind of a pain.
Yeah, it is. Because it's changed a little bit, so I'll see if we
Okay.
can get an update on it.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I could have asked yesterday if I'd gone to the meeting.
Okay, well, I'll send it out and I'll get you a copy too.
Has anybody heard about how soon they might replace Heather Craycraft, or is this pretty early in the process, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty early. Yeah, I know they're working on it, but yeah, I haven't heard anything.
That's a big change.
Yeah, where'd you say she's going to?
She's going to see you.
Athletic department?
Athletics department, yeah, that's okay. Interesting. Okay, thank you, Katie. Number 7, Wally and Brian.
Yeah, that's kind of really no update on that. I mean, it's, if it's still something that, Wally, you guys want to try to do this year yet? I mean, it's, still want to shoot me dates? Great, if not, I mean, I don't really have an update.
Would you rather wait till the springtime, let's say, when it might be more consistent weather? Or?
It's maybe, for me at this point, it might be best if we did that. We go ahead and set a date up now. I've got some issues going on, and if I get a call and I've got to go in and have them looked at, I'm gone. So you can't necessarily depend on me right now. So spring might be a good time.
Let's do that.
But just so I'm clear, like, you definitely want to be present, right?
I would really like to, but right now, at this point in time,
okay.
with what's left in this month, I can't guarantee that I'll be there.
Okay. And Larry, as far as you'd like to be present too,
Yeah,
preferably?
it'd
Okay.
I'd like to, not 100%, if Wally's there,
Yeah.
wouldn't be 100% necessary.
Well, to me, again, that's however you choose to do that. But, you know, you and I have been the ones that have been pushing this, and we've talked to the retired fire marshal and also the retired fire chief. And so maybe we can go in and work on him on the, you know, some stuff that they told us we possibly could get.
Yeah. George Kuffner Memorial.
Yeah, so I just been working with Crown Trophy in Boulder and on a 5x9 plaque, and it's being produced.
Where's it gonna go in here?
It's gonna go. It's gonna go on the decision. The final decision is gonna go on the backstop of Kuffner Field.
That's exactly what I was thinking it should go.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, there's actually like a, you know, where the vertical pole and the horizontal pole meet. It'll go on there, like.
Have you ever seen the memorial to Bruce Williams at Williams
Oh, yeah.
Field? If you go by Williams Field, take a look at that. It's quite nice. This would be different, but it's nice to
Yeah.
have something
Yeah.
there. As wide as this field, or Kuffner Field.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the George Kuffner descendants are on board on this then?
Yeah, I mean, like I said at previous meetings, you know, I think Patrick has mainly just channeled the communications with George Leo, and I think that
I think that's
kind
what
of,
counts, yeah.
yeah, I think everyone's pretty comfortable with this, so.
Good.
But once we get it installed, I'll, take a picture, share it with you guys and whatnot, so.
Good. Do you have any kind of little ceremony or anything like that?
I don't know. I would probably say no, yeah. How it's,
Well, maybe put it in the Sentinel and.
yeah, we could,
that
it'll
sort
go
of
on the
thing.
digest and
Yeah,
for the
make sure,
trustees.
make sure it gets a little attention.
For sure, yeah, for sure.
Okay, good deal. So where are we, Lindsay? We're about finished, right?
Yeah. Last page. Is it? I got a couple copies here.
I have a copy.
Oh, great.
Does anybody else need that?
It's this planning, this big one?
Yeah.
This is still the same.
Yeah, I've been changing it on my file, like at home, and then
Okay.
I guess I'll have Brian print out a new one for the next meeting.
Yeah.
With it organized, but a lot of this, I don't know, we've talked a lot about the new town center area. I don't know how we prioritize things there necessarily. I guess we need to talk to the CAPS committee and see where they are on different art projects and things like that.
And going to their meetings is probably important, right? I know Daryl's been great about coming to some of ours. And
Yeah.
even if we just went once a quarter, just to start to get more connected with them. But when do they meet even?
They meet on
At night?
next Thursday at 7. I'll
At
double
night.
check that's at night, yeah.
Next Thursday, what's that?
Let me double check.
Third Thursday,
The fourth Thursday? Third Thursday?
fourth
Yeah.
Thursday?
We meet on the 25th at 6.
Oh,
Caps, right? That's-
Six.
At town hall,
At 6?
yeah.
Anybody available to drop in on that?
Not next week.
It's the fourth Thursday of each month.
Okay.
I know next month will be probably not since it's over the holiday,
Yeah.
so they'll probably reschedule that, but, I know it'd probably be very beneficial for someone from the group to attend maybe quarterly, because there is a renewed focus on, or there will be a focus on cultural arts, in town. I know they have a significant amount of money in the 2019 budget for cultural art and placemaking and whatnot throughout town. And just a real quick note on that, Katie Romar, event supervisor, just recently moved on, and her position is actually kind of being reframed to include some of that cultural arts and not just events. So it'll probably be pretty standard moving forward with that focus, but.
It's always the fourth Thursday, so then in December, it's kind of right around,
I know, right? I know.
right?
Yeah.
Maybe,
November and December, huh?
maybe we could take turns. I don't mind emailing Daryl and saying we'd like to start coming to some. And maybe we could just all kind of take turns.
yeah, I can go to some meetings if I can get
representing.
back from work in time, but not, that won't always be possible, so.
Right.
Yeah.
And not everyone, but maybe every other one, just, I think it just needs to be always at the front of their minds that we need to be a part of it.
We want to
So,
be, so.
Yeah, so I can email Daryl and just see when the best meeting would be. I'll do that.
And if they're
Okay, thanks.
rescheduling anything for
Other
the holidays.
Yeah.
Thanks, Katie. Yeah, let us know what you find out.
And we're just going through these now, and then we're gonna figure out what, are the most important, kind of? Is that your thought, Lindsay?
So what we had done on the previous categories was I wrote down a lot of the stuff for the museum and Grasso Park we're having worked on right now. And then I put, so like things this fall, and then stuff that we'll think about like right away in the new year, and then later for next year, and then sort of a long-term wish list kind of thing. So next time I'll just have a list that's in order of like when we thought we would do things, and then hopefully we can just use that to kind of go down.
Or most important too,
Yeah,
right?
so
Ongoing and
yeah.
then most important.
Yeah.
Very good.
So that's kind of the rest of the list here. Whereas I think we just need to have like a separate committee or day where we're talking about community outreach and how we want to kind of structure things going forward. I mean, obviously there's been a lot of talk about the website over time, and brochures and things like that. And then possibly having a sort of friends list or something of people we can
I like that.
contact. If we're working with the Chamber of Commerce, there's different things we could do, like recognize like the historic businesses in town, sort of like if there's a business that's over 20 years old or something, we could do something with the Chamber of Commerce to recognize them. So we're just working with different groups more.
Who's Joanna Sampson?
She wrote a book on Marshall history.
Okay, okay.
And I think she lives in Marshall. She just lives in Boulder anyway. I believe. I'm not sure.
So to me, those mostly seem like things that either we've talked about in the past, but need to sort of figure out where we're going to focus
Yeah, it's kind of really good ideas.
first. Especially if we feel like we have
There's more of us.
more money to spend on like paper, printed materials, things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I've been thinking, it's a little bit off the subject, but I've been thinking of make up a little, even an informal brochure on how to get from the museum to the mine site, because people always say, where's the mine again? It's always down over there. Oh, it's hard for them to imagine where it is. So
Yeah.
just,
I mean, we get that a lot.
yeah,
Yeah.
so there's lots of things like that with these brochures we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think.
Or all the important, it could kind of have all the important sites, right? On it, that you can say,
Yeah.
this is here, Grasso Park, Cemetery.
I think just, yeah, a walking tour brochure would be
Yeah,
great.
that might be
Yes.
two separate things. I was thinking about how to get them from the museum to the
Up there.
trailhead.
Yeah, and if we have like
But, yeah.
the other brochures we've been talking about, you could have like a little diagram
Yes,
in there.
right.
I think those are very important, we just need to work on them.
Yeah.
Well,
So I don't know, like I mean, it's already October. If we want to just say like in the new year, we'll have a separate meeting for community engagement outreach brochure things.
well, maybe we could incorporate some of these into our annual work plan too. There's another way to remind us to do things. Yeah,
And I mean, I don't mind, I could meet, we don't have to wait till January if
Yeah.
you don't want to, we could just see who's available
Yeah,
too.
maybe, yeah, it'd be good to have a meeting now, and then we can kind of plan for next, yeah.
Do you have days, times available, Lindsay?
I do, I just don't have my planner with me, so kind of, yeah. I'm free every Tuesday.
Oh,
Do you want to can you take that on to send an email to all
Sure.
of us?
Yeah,
And just see who's interested in being on kind of a marketing / whatever you want to call it?
yeah, marketing / outreach.
And then
Discussion.
in that group, we really can just pick the most important of these things, right?
Yeah.
Just at least start with.
sounds good.
Yeah, because there's like so many different ideas, and then, but I don't want to reach out to people and then not follow through if we just get all, too bogged down in things. Okay, so yeah, let's try to meet to talk about that at some point. And then under the other category, I guess the coal cart was relocated. Right?
Yep,
Superior Historian could go with community engagement as
Yeah,
well.
and the how to advertise.
Yes. And then potential friends list. I feel like we can just change,
Other to
yeah.
community engagement.
Change what?
I wonder if we can just kind of, if people visit the museum, have them sign up with an email or something, and then we
Oh.
can follow up with any upcoming events and things like that. Or,
Yeah, we have our little guest sign-in book, but we don't always get all their contact information on that, do we? Because sometimes they'll just say, they're from Louisville, so
Right.
we'll get an address, so.
yeah, and then if we wanted to do like a Friends of the Museum
Yeah.
thing, we could have a little flyer about that or something.
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, that all goes in the
I think we
other,
have potential for a lot of flags.
yes.
We get people going through the museum and they express an interest in our commission meetings.
Mhm.
We tell them when they are, but it kind of drops there. Because I
Yeah.
don't think anybody has ever come. Or almost, no.
Yeah, we could handle it, be a friend of the
Yeah,
Historical Museum
Yeah.
brochure.
Yeah, or if we
something
had their
like that.
email, we could email them about the next meeting or something like that.
And are there other community events that we should be, sorry, we'll talk, I guess we can talk in the separate, but that we should be a part of, that we should have a booth at? I mean, I know we do the 4th of July.
We used to do the Chili Fest, but we just finally came to the conclusion people were more interested in chili and beer than they were in history, so.
yeah, yeah.
Unfortunate.
Yeah.
So if there's any other like events that we can think of that it would be neat to try and get more volunteers or more outreach, you know, so.
What about that Arbor Day thing? Are they still doing that every year where they
Yeah,
have
it
booths?
was rained out this past year, but yeah, I mean, that's, don't know how, trying to be realistic about, it's not really a heavily attended
Yeah,
event.
really,
It's
yeah,
kind
as
of
I
a-
recall, yeah.
Yeah.
Can't think of any others, can you, Brian? Any other?
Well, Count the Lights coming up, you know,
Oh, yeah.
December 1st, but it's a good opportunity.
Election day, set up a booth.
The history of elections in Superior.
Yeah.
I don't know how we'd find out about that, but, okay, and then the Hake Homestead open space that Rita was very,
Yeah,
She
and
really
be
wanted
clear,
us
this
to
is
have-
off to the west, it's not our Grasso Park. There's that, any update on that park?
Where is that?
Possibility? Oh,
Which one?
it's southwest corner of Old Superior, original Superior. It's where the Hake House was, the two-story house.
Is
There's
it
a-
in county open space or is it?
What's the answer to that?
no,
Are you talking about right off of McCaslin, that Shan?
No,
property?
over there by Arsenault's, you know where the pump house is and where the foundation,
Oh, yeah.
the old
It
fences.
used to be the Mayhopper property
Yeah.
at the end there, yeah.
That's where the mail-
Like down the
barn-
trail, kind of? Do you actually go down the trail? The
There's-
open space trail or no?
It's not really developed very much. There's a little
Okay.
trail that goes down into the Cold Creek.
Okay.
And then right there, there's the fence
Mhm.
that was around the Hake House, which became the Morrell House, which is Mrs. Cuffner's house.
Okay.
Uh,
but then the Shan property is different.
Yes.
And that house is gonna go away.
To see usable park with trails onto that Hake thing, it's already, that's another commission, that's the
Mhm.
Parks and Open Space, I'd say. But
Oh, yeah.
I mean, whichever one it falls under. There's that well pump house that Patrick and I went and looked at one time. We'd like to do something with it because, you know, typically a lot of kids hanging out in it and stuff like that, so. I think that was something that Rita's more interested in, probably.
I guess it's just important to know what's going on with the different areas of development and, yeah.
Yeah. The Shan thing is, the house is gone, you know, and so it's,
yeah, eventual trailhead, I don't know. I know it's in the works, but.
Yeah, oh, and we had talked about like the naming of that,
The naming
right?
of that, yeah.
Who would we just,
Yeah, well, I think OSAC is, the naming of that, yeah, I think there'll be an opportunity, because I know it's on the work plan to be a part of that naming of that
Okay.
trailhead, but it's not at that point yet.
Okay.
Okay,
Give you something to work with there, Lindsay.
yeah. I mean, I just,
Very good.
at some point, we should contact the Parks Committee, I guess.
what about replacing Walt? Is it open now? Is that extra?
We have an opening, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So you have any-
And then we're full, is that the amount? Is that like, I mean, that's
Yeah.
the total we can have?
Sorry, what was your
With
question
Walt,
again?
sorry, the number
Oh,
of
yeah.
commission members, then we're full if
We
we.
have we have one opening right now, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that'll put us back at 9.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you have any friends, acquaintances you think might be interested to work on a little bit. But, a couple of people I was kind of encouraging to look into, but I think they've chosen not to get involved, so. Well, number 10, Brian, we got our projects update and our, lost the train of topic here. So project update.
Yeah, so kind of a quick summary on that. So obviously $4,300 in the preservation account. Current projects that are in the works are the contractor, Pedro Flores, who Larry and I met with, is going to be working on repairing or replacing the front porch at the museum. So that should be started any day now if it hasn't already. I haven't swung over there in a few days. But so that, and then he's also working on the barn, the Grasso barn, restabilizing the floorboards inside the barn, and then the kind of front stoop, kind of stabilizing that as well. I know the museum porch work is going to cost roughly $800. I don't have a definitive cost on the Grasso barn work, but I think it's safe to assume maybe around that amount.
So you're just gonna put all new wood on that stuff, or what?
Larry, the discussion on the porch was to try to use the existing board, but like, because it's kind of spongy now, when you step on it, so like stabilizing underneath the porch.
You
there.
talked about maybe picking up some used wood someplace
Some-
that would
yeah.
be better conditioned, but wouldn't
No, it's, yeah,
put that
Exactly.
place over in Broomfield.
yeah, but try to retain what is there,
So
yeah.
it wouldn't look brand new, but it would be,
Yeah,
you step on the, well, in fact, one piece fell off. We had one of our field trips of fascia kind of piece fell off. so-
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's,
then the boards on the inside of the barn, they'll just need like, kind of anchored down, I
He's
guess.
gonna do a drill driver, just
Yeah.
drive it, screw it down into it.
Yeah. In addition to that, though, we did have a pest control company come and clean out all the, I guess there's a group of Norway rats.
Norway rats, well, how
A Norway
nice.
rat, yeah.
Norway rats, that's the
Norway-
name of them?
That's the name of, yeah.
They're
I
big.
mean, you got, I mean.
Send
Why
them
don't
back
you
to
just call them
Norway.
rats,
Yeah.
right? I don't know why. Why do they have to have an official name, you know? Gives them more power. Norway rats.
Yep. Specific, yeah.
Yeah, there was an article in the paper here a while back that there's.
About them?
Yes.
One of them?
Actually, there's an increase in rats in the state of Colorado.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, good.
Husband's Norwegian, though.
So that's gonna be
For that.
an ongoing
Brought them
thing,
up. Yeah, he did.
replenish the traps and so forth.
So I think, yeah, so there's some like,
Unleash them, whatever.
so it's not, it's pest control, not, I think I said, not extermination. So,
Oh, yes.
So all the droppings have been removed and there's some traps that they'll monitor for the next 3 months.
Well, and then they'll just put the Norway rats up in Rock Creek or something, if they're not exterminating them.
What street,
Yeah.
They
Drop them off in
relocate them?
what street do you live on?
Yeah, I'm not
I know.
telling.
But at least it'll be clean enough for the contractor to go in there and, I mean, because there
Yeah.
were so many
The
droppings.
ones that breathe in that stuff, yeah.
And we don't want a plague outbreak.
What's that?
No
Don't want to
play.
play.
Right. We could replicate the Middle Ages here or something like that.
So kind of my last point on that is, so if you guys have $4,300 in that account, I think it's safe to assume that that work I discussed is maybe around, let's say 2,000. That'll bring it down to 2,300, Yeah, 2,300. I think that's close enough to where if you wanted to consider moving forward with Daryl McCool and the Lost Superior book, the reprinting of the Lost Superior book, those 500 copies. If you wanted to make a recommendation, or if you wanted to think about it for the November meeting, that's fine. But just kind of throwing that out there, because her quote was, including the maps, was $2,574. And we do have the files from Bonnie Blake that Daryl could work with and convert if need be, I think.
What I'd like to recommend is that we ask Daryl to do a mock-up copy.
Yeah, she said she would do a sample copy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was in last month, she was going to. Because I think we really want to see that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I had emailed her earlier in the week to tell her that the files were now in possession of the town. And so I think she could, and she said she works off of Quark, and that's what this is, so it won't have to be converted or anything either, so. So I think we ought to see what she can come up with, see what it looks like.
Okay. Yeah, and I think separate from this, I think Karen Stortland was actually meeting with her this morning about actually the CAPS agenda, but I think she's going to talk about the book as well. So yeah.
So I'd say it has to be from the town staff to tell her to do that, and I think our recommendation is to make up a mock copy.
Mock copy, okay.
Mock-up copy, I guess. What was your term that you used?
Sample copy?
Sample copy, thank you.
And what about like some more of this stuff that's on the long-term planning, like the screw eyes on the window screens? Not that like costs a lot, it's just labor.
I keep saying I'm gonna go over and do it, I keep forgetting.
The hand pump, and some of these things, the alarm system for the upstairs. I mean, we do have things that we could do to save money if we needed to, but obviously the book would clear it.
It would, yeah. I mean, really, some of
That's a
the
good point.
yeah, some of the really kind of, I don't want to say rinky-dink, but like.
But you don't even put it into the.
I mean, like our parks guys can. It's just a matter of. Many times me and you have met with one of our park staff and just pointing things out, and they kind of knock it out. Like
There were 2 or 3 other things we had on our list for Pedro, and they decided, well, Brian said, well, our staff guys
Can just do it, and then we don't get billed. It's
no,
just.
it's all kind of in-house,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
But,
I think they put that screen back on too.
yeah.
I noticed. So.
That phone, that's right. Gotta get that old
Yeah.
phone installed too, yeah.
Ever phone with the dial?
No, the crank.
A crank.
Oh, where's that gonna go?
Well, I'm proposing.
Someplace, I don't think we know where, but it's going on.
We looked at over by the closet.
Yeah, above
closet.
that bookshelf, or that little,
Yeah, the
Shelf
powder
thing.
cake shelves, yeah.
that would be good.
It seems to be about the only place that would be appropriate and it would fit, so.
Okay, well, I guess I guess just by November, we'll have to decide how else to use some of that if we need to.
Yeah, that's a good idea from Daryl, how long it take her to
Yeah.
produce the sample copy, and then hopefully we'll get it before the November meeting, and we could break it around, pass it around between us or something like that, so we could make a formal recommendation on November. Go or no go. Oh, and then the Orange Monster, number 11.
Yeah, so I'll
Any
just check.
success along
Yeah.
those lines, Brian?
What's that?
Any success there?
Well, I haven't, the only thing I've done with that is I chatted with Patrick and he recommended,
Okay.
that the commission make a recommendation, just so we have it on record, as far as the group's wishes, what to do with that piece, so.
What
Remind
is
us,
it?
is that Orange combine beside the barn that was moved in by someone without
Middle of the night.
permission.
It
Because
just
he
appeared.
decided it was something we should have. So it's very out of place and it's in very rough condition and will never, well, I don't think it'll ever be a priority for us to
No.
do anything with it.
I think mostly for us, we're into the horse type of stuff down there.
Yeah. So what we'd like to do is recommend that someone like George Leo take it and do what he wants to do with it. So is there a motion that we recommend the disposal of the deaccessioning of the combine?
I would make a motion that we check into, with George Leo, possibly disposal of the combine sitting on the south side of the barn.
Second?
Second.
Second by Katie.
Well, I thought it wasn't actually accessioned, so
Right.
it,
No.
Oh, okay, so it's,
It doesn't have to be D.
That's true. It wasn't deaccession, but I was trying to
it was
avoid saying
never
junk
anything.
it, but it was never
Appeared on
anything,
it.
right?
Should be enough metal to make it worth somebody's.
Yeah.
This also maybe isn't our commission to work on, but I just think that Grasso Park is such a wonderful space, but there's nothing that there's not much that children can do down there.
Wait a second, I think that's out of order. We have a motion to
Oh,
take
go ahead. Oh, didn't I second it?
Yeah. You had to vote?
Oh.
All in favor?
I,
All opposed?
Eyes are above the nose, motion carries.
So proceed with Digger on that. And you'd like to see something different in Grasso Park?
Yeah, I just want it all gone, and then the kids park. No, I just think, I from working downtown too, and just, you have to like create areas that people want to go, and that's such an important area for Superior, but kids can't play, so kids can't play on any of it, When I bring my kids down there, it's like, don't touch don't get on that farm equipment, or it'd be so neat if there could be something that's actually historic related, but active, that kids could,
Yeah.
like a play structure that looks like an old horse and buggy, or, something where people actually want to go down there.
A lot of people go
that's-
down there with their easels and paints and their cameras and
Yeah.
photographs and
Lots
all
of-
this
Do a
sort
lot
of
of
thing.
photo shoots.
But,
Yeah.
We do family
Senior
family
pictures.
photos.
Did you?
It's a great location for it.
Well.
I'm just sure the movement in general is to get people to be in Superior, right? And if you could walk around and walk down there and have it be, I just keep thinking of the word active. It's a, I don't know. It's,
Passive place. Huh?
yeah, really, it's like there's certain people that go there at certain times of year. And if you could create something that people can be engaged with there, but that you can be historically something, it would be
need to do
really
a
neat.
focus committee or something, because we could do the signage we talked about and maybe,
You could run the
climate.
train over there.
yeah.
And the
we're gonna have to put it someplace.
space is actually pretty big.
Donation!
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, put the Dorsey Garden Railroad over there.
Yeah.
But maybe
That could be on just the long-term planning.
Grassl
Yeah, I
Park
just-
could
And
be-
I would hope that, I think it's like,
Parks
it's very
and
historic, so like we don't mess with it, but it doesn't mean it can't be developed and enhanced. And all of that farm equipment is, if it doesn't have good signage too, then what's it doing for us besides off limits that people can look at, It's a big,
ambiance.
yeah.
Let's put that on our.
Yeah, I just
we got
put it
that down.
on there.
Good
Yep.
idea.
No,
That is a good idea.
Yeah.
I think definitely, just the last point on that, Katie, is if that's something that the group feels strongly about, is going to one of the pro stack meetings and getting on their radar.
Right, because it's probably off limits to them too.
Well,
'cause we're
yeah,
not-
they have a
don't-
prioritization list on different parks in town, but that might be, off their radar. It's more of a
Yeah, they
passive.
don't look at it that closely.
I don't know if you've been to the Littleton Museum where they have the farm outside the
Yeah.
museum.
Mhm.
Well, across the street from that is a park, and they have some play structures that are kind of farm oriented.
Mhm.
And it's taken my grandkids there many times. And
Oh.
they're probably not safe like the new stuff, but
But that's kind of what happened at Founder's Park too, with the railroad-oriented and mine-oriented
Yeah.
play equipment up there, yeah. Good idea. Any other old business?
Kind of in that same subject, during the field trips this year, I had a couple people suggest to me when we were looking at the models of the schools that Herb Morrison had put together, and he also had all that play equipment, you know, the swing and the teeter-totter and that kind of thing. A couple people said to me, oh, you ought to spend some money, or we should have a fundraiser to raise money to put this playground equipment back in Asti Park. Now, I don't know if that's anything anybody would want to do, but the kids seem to be interested in the teeter-totter and the little swing that goes around. And,
I think most of those aren't done anymore because of safety issues.
Yeah.
well, and that could be. I mean,
things have changed so much in that play equipment.
yeah, they have.
But yeah,
But no, I
just-
mean, I think it comes back to the same point. Why would I stop in Asti Park with my family? Why, I mean, they have the, yes, you can have a picnic there, but what, we have to create things for people to want to go there. It has
Yeah.
to
it'll be
be
more than just.
live and active, you know?
This was parents and teachers and the kids
Yeah,
said,
it
oh,
would be
we'd like
cool.
to have playground equipment like that. Sure, well, if safety is an issue, then
Well, you pay,
know,
you know,
could
be.
the equipment has to,
it's not the way it was when we were kids.
right, we were expendable.
Ha, 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 ha.
Yeah,
Getting some extras there.
but
Yeah,
I,
this is a good idea, same kind of concept though, you know, you go to the park
Yeah.
and there's no park stuff to play on, huh?
yeah,
There's the bench, right? Or there's that one little swing.
There's the fire pit. Has anybody ever used the fire pit?
For the,
Yeah, for the Count the Lights event, I think, but some other people, I think, drop in and use it occasionally, but.
It's so big.
It is, but yeah.
it's kind of overwhelming.
I went by about
S'mores,
3
yeah.
weeks ago and somebody was using it. There was a whole group out there. I
Oh,
don't
that's
know
cool.
who they were, but, yeah.
Well, another good suggestion, but this is, so we need to segue over to the Pro Stack though, huh? But we would certainly, well, in the forum, we would probably recommend it, looking into that. Well, let's move on to old, new business then, since it's almost 11:30. And I will be available on the 3rd. Anybody else available on the 3rd?
We might be.
Walter Gorski is our question mark.
I'm working that day.
Oh, man. That's Saturday.
Every Saturday, Brad.
Every Saturday, huh? Good. Bet you're doing a good job.
I might be available.
We'll see when Mary gets back. We'll find out about her. Round table, I'll have some relatives drop in. Cheryl's relatives drop in. I'll try to get to that. Anne Fram, I didn't get to the last one. I don't know what's going on for their last one for 2018, but the suggestion here, someone put down potential for us to host.
Somebody had brought that up a few
I might
meetings
have.
ago, and I just stuck it in the agenda here. I don't know if there's an interest in doing that again.
I thought when we did it that one time, we did a pretty good job, so we could do it again. And
Would that affect your budget, with budget coming up, or budget's coming up?
there is some expenditure there, yeah. It isn't much.
It's not huge.
Yeah.
Did you
And
provide
did you
lunches?
host-
They pay for their own lunches.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you host it at the museum or here?
We hosted it here, then had to take
Walked or
tour
something.
grass.
We had
Shore
lunch
and-
here and then toured.
think that'd be great.
Yeah.
We wouldn't want to do it, let's see, it's on, it's February, April, July. Wouldn't want to do it in May, or, because we have our historic walk.
Yeah.
So it's in the even months, 2, 4, 6. So June maybe. If you want to do it during warm weather, which would be more desirable, I could follow up on that.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Remember we did,
Thinking
right?
June, maybe?
Yeah. So it would be next, August would be next.
August is always hot.
Obviously, we don't want to do it during the field trip day
Oh,
that time,
yeah.
or the historic walk time. So June or August would be good to have access to the outdoors, otherwise it doesn't matter. Since we're so outside oriented. Okay, follow up on that. The potluck, the holiday potluck.
Okay. Last year, when Walt moved away, he said, oh, let me know next year and I can get the meeting room back down there, but I don't know if that's really feasible since he doesn't live there anymore. I'm
Well, it's
talking
named
about
after him.
where we
Yeah,
had the
that's right.
potluck
Can we
last
just
year.
have it at someone's house again? We don't need lots of space, do we? Or did you guys like it there? Did you guys,
Well, it really worked well,
because of the kids'
Down
little
there.
kitchen space?
Yeah.
except that we don't have anybody that lives down there anymore.
Well, but I think part of what he was saying was with all the high regard he's
Yeah.
held in, that he's got that ability to secure it.
Yeah, now, what do you think about, do we want to ask him or not want to ask
Well, let's
him?
back up again, Katie's question. We had it at Walgorski's for years and years, and it started getting really crowded, and that's one reason why I kind of look forward to having
Bigger spot.
a little pressure valve release there. But then I think you kind of noticed that there wasn't a huge turnout.
Last year, there weren't enough people, we could have had it at our house last year, because not that many people came. It all depends on the year. It had gotten so it was really crowded, and our house is just not, well, we were on the verge of moving out into the front yard in December. So,
The last time I was at your house, we were out in your backyard. It was a nice day, and a lot of people spent time in your backyard. So you're right, it gets crowded.
yeah, it depends on the weather, but, you know, we basically have our dining room and the living room. Well, you know what the space
Yeah,
is.
it's not an easy house to enter.
Can we do it here if we wanted to, or is that not very nice ambiance? Using
Well,
your
it
word.
depends, it's on a Saturday or Sunday,
It's kind of locked
Okay,
up.
so it's
it's
all
locked
closed.
up, and
Okay.
I have no idea if the town would.
Katie, I thought of that too. I've been discussing that with
Yeah.
Wally, and I don't think he wanted me to bring it up, but
Don't worry.
I'm glad you
I'll bring
did.
that stuff up.
Brian, what is the,
Yeah, I mean, we do have park staff on site, so getting in here wouldn't be an issue. I mean, I just have to confirm
working
with
on
the town
Saturdays,
manager if it'd be okay.
There is a kitchen.
Yeah, there is a
but do
kitchen.
they trust anybody like our chairperson to have?
God, no.
No.
Larry?
No. I mean, this is a perfect area, especially with the kitchen right there.
Yeah.
And there's enough space
Look
here.
at those TVs. Big TV.
Well, I would propose that we should ask Walt to see if he can help us, because if you guys liked that and the space was nice,
Where is one?
but then if not, we could look at
What?
others.
And we would want Walt to come anyway, so.
That's true too. Yeah.
But to me, this place up there with Walt, that's an ideal spot, but the parking is so bad up there.
Yeah, it was a
The
little hard.
parking was
It
not
was a little
good.
hard.
Now, if
Yeah.
they would
Although we're
consider allowing us
capable
to
of
come
walking
in
in.
here, we've got all kinds of parking out here in
Yeah.
front.
Or what about the sports stable?
Well,
Is
that,
there
I
like
know, I would
community
mention,
room?
you guys don't, okay. I don't think that would be like
Because
a,
of because of
well,
parking?
it's loud in there, that room is a little sterile. I guess for this type of like,
Yeah.
No ambiance.
yeah,
Definitely. You mean the room that has no art? on the wall.
Irma has no heart.
Do they rent this out? I mean, we've got spare money. I'm
We
not
have
talking about the
$700 that we can
donation
give
part.
you.
Yeah, really, I can't really speak to it because we typically don't have anything like a potluck in here that I'm thinking of, but I mean, I can look into, I'll ask the town manager and see if that would be permissible. I mean, I'm also thinking Station 5.
Oh, yeah, their
Rec-A-Thon has
community
that
room.
community room too.
Oh, yeah.
What's
That's
that?
nice, that's a nice space.
I
Yeah.
don't
That
know.
was one of the places they were considering for Denzel's
Oh, really? Yeah.
lunch
That's
after
free, I know.
the service.
You probably have to book that really soon.
Yeah, so I mean.
I guess I'd like, if it wouldn't be too much for Walagorski's house, either have a house or the clubhouse. But, Summit, that was Summit or Rock Creek Clubhouse would be my first two choices, but sure can explore it. Like I said, there's a kitchen back there.
And do you guys love doing the potluck and cooking the food? I'll just ask that question.
Another good question.
Yeah.
Because we could also go to dinner or lunch, all of us.
I think
but
she
somewhere
heard
that
our
has.
conversation.
Yeah.
Holly and I were talking about
Yeah.
that too.
I mean, it's easy, but like I know some people really love, you guys cook that great food, but we could also just go somewhere.
Well, we've done that for how many years now?
Almost 20 years ago.
Yeah, we
Maybe
could go
ready to-
somewhere.
Yeah.
That would be a nice
Maybe
gap.
And if
ready to
we
stop doing
have
that.
money, same thing, we could just do it, we could even go to the place at the sports stable, right, if we wanted to, or we could go, so, I mean, I don't want to change, I'm not saying we need to change everything, but I'm
Well, there are a
fine
lot of
with
places
anything.
that have like a private
Yeah,
room.
yeah,
I mean, that's what we do for our Winnebago group.
yeah, and no
We're
one
going
has
to
to
Del
cook
Vecchio's.
anything.
Well, let's try to get a word in here. So.
I would guess
Excuse me.
or suggest that if we could get in here this year, because we're so close to the holiday, you could get into, try and get in some of these places and they're booked. So I wouldn't mind doing it again this year, and if we can get in here, if the town will allow us to now. And then
Or the
next
summer.
year, Karen and I have talked about that a lot, trying to book and just go to a restaurant someplace and let somebody do it.
You could also cater, even if we did it here, and saying that you could cater it.
Yes, yes.
But,
And that's a point too. But first, we got to find out if the town would even consider allowing
Yeah.
this.
yeah.
Yeah, I'll look into it.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the layout, trying to figure out, let's see, what did we have last time? I wondered, did we have 15 people show up?
I've got a list at home. I know exactly how many, but I don't recall. I
We
don't
could
know,
have
15, 20?
4. There's maybe 6 of these tables around. Put some tablecloths on.
Unless we think that room over here, this meeting room over here, that table's big enough to do it there.
That's pretty tight.
Yeah, when we've had a meeting there before, it's been
Yeah.
hard to get everybody in.
But on the other hand, if we set up, you know,
We're
3, 4.
always between 15 and 20, I think. When it got to be too many at our house, the year we had 26.
Wow.
Yeah, I think that was our all-time high.
Just be more selective on who you invite.
Well, yeah.
But see, I've been doing this and I have, you know, and it's fine, I don't mind doing it outside, either on the grill or in the smoker. And it depends, some days, some years, it's pretty cold to be out there at 5 o'clock in the morning, getting the smoker going. And this year, if you know, and I'll go ahead and do it, it's coming out the oven. Which is okay, I've got plenty of stuff to do that I can make it come out of there just as good.
As long as it tastes okay.
Right.
We're okay with that.
Well, as long as we run over the prairie dogs 3 or 4 times, you'll never know the difference.
Use those type of stones.
Gotta tenderize them.
Yeah.
That's right.
What's a potential time of the month, day of the month, or time frame during the month and time of day?
Ooh, that's a good question, because sometimes we have it on Sunday.
I prefer Sundays because then I can go, but
We
And
always,
there's no staff on
Sunday.
we've
Sunday.
been What, starting at 1 o'clock, we always went 1 to 4 Sunday afternoon.
Okay.
Everybody needs to bring their calendars to the November meeting,
Yeah.
so we can pick a date.
But it's
If we have
usually
to-
like the 9th or 16th, right? 2nd, 9th, or 16th is what this year would be. The 2nd is kind
Yeah.
of early, isn't it? Or
Yeah.
what?
We've had it early and late.
Okay.
So if we're doing count the lights on the
Yeah,
first,
count the lights will be the first,
probably the next weekend or the weekend after would be better.
There'll be competing events coming up too,
Yeah.
for all of you.
Bronco games.
Yeah, occasionally that's an issue too.
We have
A
television.
minor
too.
issue.
Oh, that's right.
Do they
I think they can get
have
outside.
receivers?
I'm sure they can
Well,
get.
we had the TV set on that one year.
Yeah.
I think it's been on.
Well, as long as Wally doesn't mind doing the meat preparation, I know Karen always does the wassail and that sort of thing too.
Yeah,
so
and
it's
if we
just
can get it in someplace where we have a stove, then we can bring that stuff down and, you know, keep it warm.
Well, we did last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On average, like what's the number of people that usually attend each year? Do you know?
She said 15 to 20, but there were 26 one year.
Okay.
Yeah, somewhere between 15 and 20, I think. It could go a hair more.
Might have to invite the town manager.
That's what I was just thinking, yeah, let's, we could have
I
it in his
don't-
office.
Yeah, come to
Yeah,
work.
I don't think we would, that would be a big, you know, we can certainly do
I
that.
think he was invited.
I think there's always plenty of food, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we used to invite a lot more of the town people until we ran out of room. Well, and we used to have the children there also, until we ran out of room.
Yeah, and I
We
don't-
had a lot of participation by very well-behaved children a few years. They were very good.
But, you know, it just gets down to the point with, at our place where you start restricting. And, you know, and it's not because we want to, it's because we have to, because we don't have the room.
Well, to summarize then, we're looking at utilizing this boardroom for the potluck this year. If it-
And then you don't want to ask at the summit, or?
that's, some of it didn't seem to
Have
go.
you talked to Walt lately?
No, you know, he hasn't replied to any emails and, I
He
don't know
might
what's
be in
going on.
Florida.
What?
Well, yeah.
He might be,
He could be in
Working.
I
Florida or
never
Texas
know when
or,
he's on a
Well, that's
FEMA
true, yeah,
field trip.
yeah.
Because he sent an email once about getting together, and I replied, and he never replied back to that one, so I just don't know what.
But see, to me, and like, again, it's the parking out here, it's so convenient.
You know, yeah, Sandy Hammerly said, that, you know, that he can do anything he wants to over there as far as they're concerned, so,
well, Sandy could be an approach too.
yeah. So Sunday could be an issue here because they have staff on site on Saturday. Staff
do on
working
Sunday as
Saturday,
well.
but not on Sunday, huh?
We do on Sunday as well.
Never
Yeah.
mind. Okay.
I guess the first thing to do would be to ask, find out if we can even be
Yeah.
allowed to do it, and then
Yeah.
go from there.
Yeah.
If they say no, then obviously we got to fall back and punt.
Make sure the town manager's invited, so.
Yeah.
Okay, so then maybe I or Karen ought to send out an email to others. Would it be Alan and Mary, and maybe Gail.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Ellen and Gail and the
Yeah.
seed, absolutely.
So let's see, give them a heads up that what we're thinking about.
And bring their calendars to the
Next
November
meeting, yeah.
meeting.
Okay, good deal. Thanks again to Waligorskis for all that.
You want me to send that email out?
If you want it, it's okay with me.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Everybody got an invitation to the volunteer dinner on November 1st?
Yeah, are you guys going? Who's going?
I'm going, you guys going?
Near as I know, we're
It's
going.
usually
Yeah.
When's he going?
good time. Where are they doing it this year?
Maybe.
Bruce Sketties again,
The sports.
whatever you call
We're in Leslie's, yeah.
We're in
Italian
Leslie's.
restaurant.
I've never been in there.
Well, we went
It
there
starts
last
being
year. It
into
was
the night.
really good.
Okay.
Oh, they
Yeah.
had, I thought.
Yeah.
But the acoustics are really bad.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
so
because the game's going on and stuff. Or,
it just didn't, Well, it might have been just the sound system. It's really hard to understand it.
Yeah, I think it was the people talking, it's the drag chairs out.
It's all, it's a modern restaurant, so it's all concrete and steel, so it's
Noisy.
noisy,
Yeah.
yeah.
But again, the food was
Good,
excellent.
good grub.
Yeah. No complaints on the food.
So you'd say you're gonna be there, Lindsay?
I don't know, I'll have to look at what I'm doing that day. I can't remember.
Yeah, I'll look. I've never been, so it
Should go.
probably be good.
Oh,
Yeah, there's a
yeah, you'd
comedian this
enjoy
year.
it.
There's what? A comedian? Oh, is it, what's her name? Yeah,
Andrea
Andrea.
Ball?
Yeah, she's
Oh,
funny.
I work out with her. She's,
Oh, really?
yeah, she's great.
Yeah.
She's from the chamber,
Oh, yeah, okay.
or she's in the chamber,
Chamber, yeah.
member of the chamber.
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
funny.
single entrepreneur.
Nice.
So Bob Morgan didn't get any notification on that. so
Okay, I'll chat with Kevin.
Yeah, 'cause I talked with him a couple days ago about it, so
Okay.
he's got to put it on his calendar and he'll let us know if he can
Okay.
go. But, okay. Count the lights, December 1st, coming up. Gonna do pretty much do what you did last year? Ah,
Yeah,
sorry.
I'm
Do what
pretty
you
sure we
did
don't really
last
have
year.
many details on that event yet, but I imagine the same time, the 3:30 to 5 time frame for the event at Asti Park. So I'll definitely have more information next month.
Well, we are forewarned then. And I've got a few other things. I'm gonna pass this phone, get out of there. This phone around, and I would like to have it back, please. And there's a photograph in here. This is what they did at Lafayette Miners Museum for their tool display. It was a Eagle Scout. I don't know if any of you looked at it, Jerry Morrell's newsletter. I'd like to propose that we explore this possibility, but there'd have to be, obviously, figure out the most effective place in the museum to do it that wouldn't detract from the rest of it, and maybe, could we have our tools are just, stuck in a corner or on the floor in the
It's
basement?
like, is it like a big wooden box kind of, and they're like secured in
Yeah.
there?
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea.
That's pretty
Put
neat.
desks down around it, yeah. So, I'd like to explore that and
Oh, that's
maybe
great.
next time. I was kicking it around last opening with Bob and, well, Mary, I guess. And so we kind of thought maybe on the wall where the,
Like planks. They did it.
yeah, it looks like planks, all right. So a solid piece like a plywood. But maybe where that Lincoln, Washington picture is hanging on that, would be kind of the north wall of the living room. Maybe it'd fit there. I don't want
There's
to,
some space there.
yeah, we could relocate that picture, of course. But so that
That's
really
pretty neat.
looked
Yeah.
pretty sharp. Yeah. So be thinking about that.
And I think, well, it's something to talk about in the future where we just need to look at the use of space. Because right now there's stuff related to the school, like all over the place. And then mining stuff in different places too. So it might be better to have like different zones.
Mining room and a,
Yeah.
You gotta decorate for Christmas.
Are we going to decorate for Christmas?
Well, there's usually a tree
Yeah, we have our tree.
and some toys from the basement, right?
Yeah, and the town does the lights on the house.
The little Santa. So yeah.
Santa at the chimney. But we don't do much else besides that. We haven't done much else besides that. Anybody want to do more than that?
You just don't have a whole lot of space inside.
I know, that's
Space is the issue.
Yeah.
that's the issue with this too. I'd love to have something like this, but I don't want it to detract from the ambiance of the museum.
Well, at our museum opening that we have coming up here, we could just sort of do a little brainstorming on that.
Mhm. Yeah, right up.
Because we'll be there.
Mention that meet the spirits. I've been in touch with this lady that Karen mentioned earlier in the meeting from the Boulder chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution, and they're putting together a book about Boulder County cemeteries, and so they want to use our material the, those two issues of the Superior Historian. And so I don't think there's any problem with that, so I agreed that they could use the photos, which I think I took all the photos, and the text, put into their book. In the process of talking, he says, well, we'd like to come out and look at the cemetery. So that's what the call was about, Karen. And so what we've got set up right now, weather permitting, is on 10th of November. I'm going to meet them at the museum. Real quick look inside the museum, and then take them over to the cemetery. So.
Isn't she part of the DAR?
Yeah.
Daughters of the American Revolution?
Yeah. And so, if anybody else wants to do that, wants to come along, then you're welcome to join me and them.
Now, she would have been talking about what was getting us mentioned in Washington.
I don't think I heard anything like that.
She was talking about getting some information on us and get us mentioned someplace so that people knew we're there and where we're at.
Well, that might be what that book's about. Yeah, because it is a national organization. They do a lot of things on a national level. Also, there was a big attempt to cut by the Boulder City government to cut the funding for Carnegie Library, and you probably saw a lot of it in the Daily Camera about that. It was a serious slash. It was going to be one staff person leaving, not being replaced, and cutting it back to being open like 2 afternoons a week or something. It was pretty drastic. And so a whole bunch of people in the local history community wrote letters and emails and what have you, so it got restored, but it's still tenuous, future funding for Carnegie Library. I wrote an email to the people involved, and so something worked a little bit, but again, the Boulder City Council looks to be, probably not the City Council, probably the city government looking at cutting back seriously at Carnegie Library. So we have to keep supporting it as much as possible. Any other new business? Okay, see if we can get out of here before noon. All right, very good. Thanks, everybody. And we'll be in touch with you on a few of these key questions, like the
brochure outreach stuff.
yes.
Yeah.
Is there a motion to
I make a
adjourn?
motion, we adjourn the meeting.
I will second.
All right.
Okay.
We got a youthful seconds today.
Really good.